So we are in the middle of looking at the Subba Sutta, the discourse that the Buddha is giving to Subba, this Brahmin student. And so far we have seen how this person called Pokarasati was criticizing the Buddha. There's no one who can have any superhuman qualities, any distinctions in knowledge and vision worthy of the noble ones. And the Buddha says that, well, as long as you are immersed in the five hindrances, and especially the sensual world, it's impossible for you to really know these things. You can't know it through your own understanding, because these things block you from having that understanding. And so you have to kind of go to the stages where these are abandoned. You have to go to the jhanas. That's where you can actually know and see things according to reality. So he is basically blind. It's impossible for him to see any of this, and unless you go by faith. If you have no faith, well, then you have nothing really to go by, and you can't know what's going on. This Pokarasati, he does actually at some point become a disciple of the Buddha, and it seems that he even becomes a stream enter down the track. So he may start off as a disbeliever, but after a while he seems to gain that insight himself. So there's often, you see the change in people. They're starting off in disbelief, and then gradually they come around. And that is, I think, it's quite common. When you hear people and they have no confidence in the Dhamma or Buddhism, they may not believe in rebirth. What you see is that things often change. They start out like that, and they reflect on it. Over time, things start to move. If there are people with reasonably clear faculties, and they will recognize that there's something about the Dhamma that is very profound and very attractive, including ideas such as rebirth. And they will often come around to these things over time. We see that some people, they start out more like secular Buddhists, and eventually they become kind of Buddhist in a kind of more deeper kind of sense of the word, if you like. And that's okay. So we should never really write people off, and we should always kind of understand that teaching, even if people don't take it on board straight away, it has an effect very often over time. And then you don't become so frustrated if people are not, don't want to listen to you or whatever. So this is what we have come to so far. And then we come to these 5 things that this Brahmin student Subba was talking about for making merit and succeeding in the skillful. And we're going to come back to those again and discuss those in a little bit more detail. So the Buddha then says, of the 5 things that the Brahmins prescribe for making merit and succeeding in the skillful, which one do they say is the most fruitful? So those 5 things were generosity, fervor, like practicing hard, if you like, celibacy, what did I say? Generosity, truth. 1, 2, 3, 4. Celibacy, that's the 4th one. There was a 5th one. Learning, recitation was the 5th one. That's right. So there's other 5. So which one is the most skillful and or fruitful? And that is generosity, says Subba. So that is the Brahmanical view. It's the most fruitful one. And then the Buddha replies, what do you think, student? Suppose a Brahmin was setting up a big sacrifice. Then 2 Brahmins come along thinking to participate. Then one of those Brahmins thought, oh, I hope that I alone get the best seat, the best drink, and the best alms food in the refectory, not some other Brahmin. So he's going to eat the generosity of this person setting up the sacrifice. But it's possible that some other Brahmin gets the best seat, the best drink, and the best alms food in the refectory. Thinking some other Brahmin has got the best seat, the best drink, and the best alms food, they get angry and bitter. What do the Brahmins say is the result of this? Where the Gautama, Brahmins don't give gifts so that others will get angry and upset. Rather, they give only out of sympathy. And then the Buddha replies, well, in that case, isn't compassion a 6th ground for making merit? So the idea here is that you can give with many kinds of motivations. Yeah, generosity is not always the same. It depends why you give. You can give, maybe you can even give in a kind of a negative way. You give, but you don't really want the benefit of the other person. You want to irritate them or whatever. You can do all kinds of things. So giving depends on your motivation. What is it that drives that giving, that generosity? Where are you coming from? What is your intention? What are you trying to achieve with that? And this is always true in the Dhamma with all of these things that we have been looking at. Why are you doing it? Are you telling the truth because you want to hurt the other person? Or are you telling the truth because you want to be honest? All of these things can be practiced in good and bad ways. So at the end of the day, what is good karma and what is bad karma is decided by what motivates you. Are you coming from kindness, sympathy, compassion, metta, renunciation, wisdom, all the good qualities? Or are you driven by greed, by selfishness, by wanting to hurt the other person or whatever? And so this becomes really the bottom line. So the Buddha is analyzing here everything here in the deeper kind of way. And this is kind of the point of all of this. Because things are often not good or bad in their own right. They depends on the circumstances in which they are done very, very, very frequently. So, in that case, he says, compassion is indeed the sixth ground for making merit. And then the Buddha says, of the 5 things that the Brahmins prescribe for making merit and succeeding in the skillful, where do you usually find them? Among lay people or renunciates? Mostly among renunciates, says the Brahmin, and less so among lay people, for a lay person has many requirements, duties, issues, and undertakings, and they can't always tell the truth, be fervent, be celibate, do lots of recitation, or be very generous. But the renunciate has few requirements, duties, issues, and undertakings, and they can always tell the truth, be fervent, be celibate, do lots of recitation, and be very generous. Of the 5 things that the Brahmins prescribe for making merit, succeeding in the skillful, I usually find them among renunciates, less so among lay people. And you will notice that the Buddha has here taken the whole argument full circle. He started out, the Brahmin, by saying, we think that lay people are better off practicing the Dhamma, practicing the skillful, not so much renunciates. And now he has taken it around and showed basically that renunciant life, probably you're more likely to be able to fulfill all of these criteria as a renunciate, as a monastic, than you are as a layperson, because you are less busy, you're less tempted to take shortcuts, you have time, it's easier to be celibate and to practice renunciation as a monastic than as a layperson. As a layperson, you have to eat after noon, because you are working hard, you are hammering stakes into the ground, it takes a lot of energy. This is kind of, if you have manual labor, as a layperson, then it takes a lot more effort and more thinking. You have to think much more as a layperson. You have to do accounts and things, and that takes a lot of mental energy. And then you have to kind of have some extra food again in the afternoon because of that. Generally speaking, monastic life is kind of set up for living in a very kind of pure way. And so for that reason, it is more geared towards that. And he has realized that. It is not always true, because sometimes you can live very close to the Dhamma also as a layperson, but it's like generally true. It's just a general truth. And then the Buddha goes on, and he says then, I say that the 5 things prescribed by the Brahmins for making merit are prerequisites of the mind for developing a mind free of enmity and ill will. Prerequisites of the mind. What is the Pali word for prerequisite? Is it parikara? Okay, it kind of makes sense if it was parikara. Let's have a quick... there we are. It is chittassa parikara, exactly. Chittassa parikara, the prerequisites of the mind. I would say the requisites of the mind. Parikara means like requisite. So these are kind of So a requisite here is like a tool, yeah, or a thing, an item, or something that you use to achieve something else. It's like the requisites of monastic life are like the robes and the ball and these kind of things. They are used to make monastic life possible. And so these are then called the requisites of the mind. They are the things, the implements of the mind, the tools of the mind that you use to achieve something more, something deeper. So what the Buddha is telling this Brahmin is basically that, these things are just preliminary stuff. Yeah, you're kind of getting started on the path. These are the very bare minimum, and based on that, you can take the path further. And you may recall very often when we talk about the idea of generosity, you find various suttas that mention how to be generous, how to think about the idea of generosity. And you can be generous for many reasons. You can be generous because my parents were generous, so I have to be generous. Yeah, and that's kind of acceptable. It's fine. Yeah, we grow up in a good family or in a Buddhist culture, and you're taught to be generous. It's okay, but it's not the highest kind of way of being generous. And there's a number of ways, but the highest way of being generous is precisely this: the knowledge that your generosity is going to be a requisite for the mind. You do it as a chittassa parikara, chittassa alankara. Alankara is an ornament, ornament for the mind. And you're beautifying your mind by being generous, basically, and using it. And this is the highest kind of way. So when you do generosity for that, then you understand the power of these things. They are a foundation for going beyond the generosity. And this is what the Buddha is saying here with all of these 5. There are these foundational qualities that you have to put into place. And then he explains how this works. And this is a standard way that these things are explained in the suttas. So these are prerequisites for developing a mind free of enmity and ill will. Or if you like, they are prerequisites for developing the Brahma viharas, the divine abidings. Because this is eventually where the mind free of enmity and ill will actually leads. So take a mendicant who speaks the truth, thinking, I am truthful, they find inspiration in the meaning and the teaching. They find joy connected with the teaching. And I say that joy connected with the skillful or the wholesome is a requisite of the mind for developing a mind free of enmity and ill will. This is a standard thing that you find in the suttas. Yesterday we mentioned very briefly the Mahanama Sutta, and in the Mahanama Sutta you find what is known as the 6 anusatis, the 6 kinds of recollection, and those 6 recollections work precisely like this. It's exactly the same way that they are described. So I am truthful is really just the same thing as the sila nusati, the recollection of your virtue, because truth is an aspect of virtue. So this shows you that you don't even have to be focused on all virtue. You can focus on a sub-aspect of virtue. And then when you know that you are truthful, you are straight to the point, how you act and how you speak are congruent with each other. When you think like that, you feel inspired by that. You feel lifted up, inspired. You feel the atta, the Veda, the Atta Veda and the Dhamma Veda as the inspiration and the meaning and the teaching. You are inspired by the meaning. The meaning here means the purpose, the goal. You know that truth is a positive thing in your life, a positive thing for other people. It leads to happiness, it leads to joy. It moves you forward on the spiritual path. And when you see that meaning of truth, that is when you feel this gladness or joy or inspiration, as it is called here. And the teaching, of course, is the Dhamma which points in exactly the same way. It also shows you that truth is a foundation for all of these things. And when you find that inspiration, you feel inspired, then you get the joy here. The joy arises from that. This is kind of the whole purpose of these foundational qualities, to give rise to that joy. And then he says, joy connected with the skillful, the kusala is the Pali word, or the wholesome, is a requisite of the mind. It is a requisite of the mind because when you sit down to do your meditation, when you sit down to watch the breath, when you sit down to try to do the metta, when you try to do any kind of meditation subject, that will add the joy to the meditation. That will make it easy to find joy in the meditation. You don't even have to recall these things directly here. You don't have to think, I am virtuous or I am truthful. Very often it just comes by itself because you know deep down that you are living a good life. You don't have to really reflect on it very forcefully. It just happens. This is the idea of a prerequisite of the mind. It gives rise to those qualities that make meditation possible and make meditation really bite, really work for you. And so what this means, a large part of this, is that if it's hard to find joy in meditation, it basically means that you have to do more in this area. The sila isn't pure enough yet. You haven't got enough confidence in the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, because these are also 3 of the anusatis, the recollections that we can use to give rise to this. Your generosity is not purified enough yet. That's really what it means. And maybe you think that that's kind of terrible because it means that you are not good enough. It doesn't mean you're not good enough. It just means that the bar that the Buddha sets for these qualities is incredibly high. That's really what it means. And what it means to be virtuous in the Dhamma is a very, very high quality. It is not an ordinary thing. You can be a super duper goody person already, but still you can kind of lift that bar to be super duper duper goody. So you add another good to it. And so the point is that it's a very high level of purity that is kind of required here for this to really be powerful in your meditation. So when I say that, your purity may not be high enough, I'm not kind of telling you off or anything like that. I'm saying that this is actually very demanding, and it takes a lot of commitment to reach this kind of level of purity in reality. The truth is that in reality it is only really the stream mentor who have purified the mind fully in this way. And everyone else, well, we're trying to kind of get there, trying to reach this point. But it's hard to live up to this kind of level. And then these other qualities are exactly the same. So you take a mendicant who is fervent, who is ascetic, or practicing some kind of renunciation, if you like, who is celibate, or not really celibate, who abstains from sexuality, who does a lot of recitation, who is very generous. Thinking, I am very generous, they find inspiration in the meaning and the teaching. And they find joy connected with the teaching. And I say that joy connected with the skillful is a requisite of the mind for developing a mind free of enmity and ill will. I say that these 5 things prescribed by the Brahmins for making merit are prerequisites of the mind for developing a mind free of enmity and ill will. So the Buddha is really leading Subha along here. You can see the kind of the skill here of conversation. He starts off by being very skeptical of even what ascetics or monastics can do, and now he's kind of coming out. Now he's asking the Buddha for information, trying to find out what is going on. And this is also the next question here. When the Buddha had spoken, Subha said to him, "Worthy Gautama, I have heard that the ascetic Gautama knows the path to company with divinity." Divinity is Brahma, so he knows the path to company with Brahma. In other words, he understands the Brahma realms and how to go there, how to be reborn in the Brahma realms. And this is kind of interesting because this is supposed to be the strength of the Brahmins. They're supposed to know how to go to the Brahma realm. That's why they're called Brahmins, right? And now they come to the Buddha and have to ask the Buddha these questions. And so they recognize that, that they maybe have lost some of the understanding that they had. And these days, or in those days, 2,500 years ago, it was the ascetics, the samanas, the people who practiced in the forest, who became real monastics. They are the ones who are more likely to know the profound meditations that lead to these deep rebirths in these very, very high realms. So the whole thing is turned around, and you can see why many Brahmins in ancient India ended up becoming Buddhist monks. Some of the most famous monks were Brahmins by birth, like Venerable Sariputta, Venerable Mahamoggallana, Venerable Kassapa. Yeah, all of these were Brahmins, and I think for the nuns it was probably the same. They were also Brahmins by birth. So because they understood that where the real spiritual life was to be lived and where the real spiritual profundity was to be found in the world, it had largely been lost from the Brahmin kind of caste, the Brahmin clans. So now he's asking the Buddha, and what does the Buddha reply? The Buddha replies not directly but indirectly. What do you think, student? Is the village of Nalakara nearby? Yes, it is, sir. What do you think, student? Suppose a person was born and raised in Nalakara, and as soon as they left the town, some people asked them for the road to Nalakara. Would they be slow or hesitant to answer? No, worthy Gautama. Why is that? Because they were born and raised in Nalakara. They are well acquainted with all the roads to the village. Still, says the Buddha, it is possible they might be slow or hesitant to answer, but the realized one is never slow or hesitant when questions about the realm of divinity or the practice that leads to the realm of divinity. I understand divinity, the realm of divinity, and the practice that leads to the realm of divinity, practicing in accordance with which one is reborn in the realm of divinity. So again, the Buddha doesn't answer straight away. He kind of gives a roundabout answer to kind of build up the confidence in the person that he's talking to. He's doing this all the way through because he realizes when you are dealing with someone who is skeptical, you have to build it up over time. And of course, as you are conversing with someone like the Buddha, it is not just the words that they say that is important, but it is how they come across. Someone like the Buddha is going to come across as very kind, very peaceful, very calm, going to have all of these beautiful qualities, which makes it very powerful impression on the listener. You can imagine being in the presence of the Buddha. It was very hard to imagine, but you can have some idea what that might feel like. And it would obviously be very impressive. And so the longer you are there, and the more he kind of makes this beautiful, round, long argument, the more you are taken on board by the argument combined with the example of the person. A very powerful combination. Then the Brahmin student says, worthy Gautama, he says again, I have heard that the ascetic Gautama teaches the path to the company with divinity. Please teach me that path. Now he is really ready to hear this path. Well then, student, listen and apply your mind well. I will speak. Very commonly said by the Buddha throughout the suttas, listen, now is the time to listen. This is important. This is the real Dhamma coming here. Yes, worthy sir, replied Subha, and the Buddha said this. And what is the path to company with divinity? Firstly, a mendicant meditates spreading a heart full of love to one direction, to the second and to the third and to the fourth. In the same way, above, below, across, everywhere, all around, they spread a heart full of love to the whole world, abundant, expansive, limitless, free of enmity and ill will. When the heart's release by love has been developed like this, any limited deeds they have done don't remain or persist there. Suppose there was a powerful hornblower, they would easily make themselves heard in the four quarters. In the same way, when the heart's release by love has been developed like this, and the limited deeds they have done don't remain or persist there, this is the path to company with divinity. So this is the metta meditation, as it is always described in the suttas. So love here is a translation of metta, and the heart full of love is the metta ceto vimutti. So the metta ceto vimutti, or the metta. Hold on one second. I don't think I'm telling you quite the truth here. So. Metta sahagatena cetasa. Okay, so the mind full of love, or the heart full of love. So this is the standard way that metta is described in the suttas, how to practice it. So spreading out the heart, kind of well-wishing, if you like, all directions. What exactly does the word love mean? And it means like well-wishing, it means goodwill, it means friendliness. And you can build up that friendliness to become very, very powerful. And at a certain point, you might call it love, because it's such a powerful kind of goodwill towards everyone in the world, that the word love is probably appropriate. And it is a kind of selfless love. It is a love that is not directed to anyone in particular, but to the whole world. And it's that universality of it that makes it very powerful, it makes it special. And this is why it goes then to all directions, above, below, across, everywhere, with no limits, no kind of boundaries on it anymore. This is the idea. So how can we practice this kind of metta? Because obviously this is already a very kind of developed state of mind. You're sitting down, and if you try to kind of spread this to all the quarters, you might find it difficult. How exactly do we do this? And the way to do this, there's many ways that this is described. One is what is found in the Visuddhimagga, and in the Visuddhimagga, the way they advise you to do it is they advise you to start with a person who is dear to you, or someone you are very friendly with, someone who you see the good qualities in, if you like, or someone at least you have a friendly kind of disposition towards. You start with that person, and then you wish them well. May you be well, may you be happy. And as you do that, and as you do that earnestly, really meaning it, really you have to really wish this person well. You can't just say the words. It has to come from your heart. You have to really want that person to be happy. And when you say that, and you keep on doing it, it will eventually give rise, or it can do, depending on your state of mind, give rise to this feeling, like a very positive feeling, like a happy, very happy feeling, as you're wishing other people well-wishing in this way. That is the idea of metta. So you can see here, it starts off with the idea of someone that you are already on good terms with. And so very often to start off the metta, you can just imagine somebody. You don't have to actually do it to a particular person, because sometimes that can be hard to do with particular people, because it's very easy to be judgmental. So you can do it, like it says here, just to a particular direction. But to be able to do it to a particular direction, you first have to set up this idea of what it means to have goodwill to other people. What does it mean to be friendly? What does it mean to have, what is that quality? And so you can imagine, for example, someone you really respect for the good qualities, and you can see those good qualities in your mind's eye. You can start to feel what they mean, and then you can see all the people in another direction with those good qualities. That becomes almost like spreading metta to someone you are on good terms with. It becomes the same idea, but you don't do it to a specific person, you just do it to a direction, or to a group of people, or to something like that. So you set up in your mind's eye the idea of these good qualities, and then you wish all the people based on that perception. You wish all those people in the north, may you be well, may you be happy. And then you develop it in this way. So you have to start somewhere, to start in the right way. Start with building up that beautiful view of someone, and then the metta is more likely to happen as a consequence of that. And then you can go to the four directions in this way. And sometimes you can even train yourself in just seeing the good qualities in others. You can kind of have an image in your mind of a certain person or even of a group of people. Yeah, you can train yourself to perceive everyone on this retreat in that way. Or maybe even the monks at Bodhinyana, or the nuns at Dhammasara, or the people at Dhammaloka. I don't know, whoever is kind of, wherever there are good people, you can see them as a group. And then you can see them in your mind's eye, yeah? And you can see all the good qualities in them. And as you focus on the good qualities in these people, you gain this feeling of something that is attractive. Yeah, these are good people. And you can feel a sense of goodwill inside of you towards them. And when you feel that goodwill, that is where metta can start to happen. So this is how you can develop that perception first of all, even as you're doing your walking meditation or whatever. Develop that perception, then come back when you sit down, the perception is developed, then you wish them well, coming from your heart, and then these things can start to happen in this way. And then you keep on developing that. And as you develop that, there comes a time when you maybe, if you practice other parts of the Dhamma as well, you do a bit of samatha meditation, maybe you gain some insights into various things, and eventually one day your mind has this quality that the sense of metta is everywhere, all around, to the whole world, abundant, expansive, limitless. There is no enmity or ill will to be found anywhere anymore. It is all free of these negative qualities. There is no boundaries to your metta. Everyone in the world is included, regardless of who they might be. And that is called the heart's release by metta, by goodwill. The metta ceto vimutti is the Pali word for that. And then, when you have developed that, then it says there are no limited deeds. In that state, there are no limited deeds anymore. And limited deeds are actions or intentions that lead to rebirth in the sense realm. The sense realm is a limited realm. The mind is confined in the sensory realm. And all of those deeds have, at that point, they have no power over your mind anymore because you have gone beyond that. This is kind of the idea here. All of that negative karma that you have made, or all the karma that leads to rebirth in the sense realm, has no power over you anymore. And now all the karma that you have leads to rebirth in the Brahma realm instead. And that is why this is the path to rebirth to the Brahma realm. So you have kind of annulled, so much of your karma has been annulled or temporarily suppressed anyway, not completely annulled, but suppressed for a while, and it doesn't have any power anymore. And you have the simile of the trumpet blower, horn blower, who blows the trumpet or the horn in the four directions, and the sound spreads out to all the four directions. In the same way, your mind spreads out, but much further than that. And there is no limits to where that mind is encompassed by that mind. And this is the path to the company with divinity. This is this practice. So the idea here is that these meditations can be incredibly profound. You may have some success with metta, but the deeper you practice this, the more powerful it's going to be until you reach these kind of stages. And these stages here are basically equivalent to the jhana stages, so very profound states of samadhi that you can gain from this. And then you have the same kind of development of the mind that also goes with the other divine abidings, the other Brahma Vihara. So you have compassion, the karuna ceto vimutti, the release by compassion, the heart's release by compassion. And so this is similar to the previous one, except that now you are focusing more on the suffering in the world and your desire, your wish to help people release from suffering. You want to help them to get release from suffering, and that is kind of the idea of compassion. If you see someone suffering and you want to help them, that's compassion right there in action. And all of these four, they are releases of the heart. Yeah, this is why they are kind of brought in here. These are very important parts of the idea of freedom and release. And because the theme here is the idea of release, these are some of the most powerful examples of releasing the heart or releasing the mind that you find in the suttas. They completely overcome the opposite quality. That's why they're called releases of the heart. They are free of enmity and ill will. They have gone beyond those things. So compassion, and then we have the same thing for rejoicing. They meditate spreading a heart full of rejoicing. Rejoicing is mudita. And rejoicing here means that you are happy that someone has achieved something positive. Not just other people, but also yourself. So mudita is a sense of gladness, that you have achieved certain spiritual qualities. You're rejoicing in the goodness of other people and yourself. And you take that rejoicing high enough, that too becomes one of these releases of the heart. So this in some ways is a little bit similar to the sila nusati, the recollection of sila, except that it's much broader than that. It's not just about your own sila, but also the sila of others. And you rejoice in all the good qualities of people. And then the final one is equanimity. And so now you meditate spreading a heart full of equanimity to one direction and to the second and to the third and to the fourth. In the same way, above, below, across, everywhere, all around, they spread a heart full of equanimity to the whole world, abundant, expansive, limitless, free of enmity and ill will. When the heart's release by equanimity has been developed and cultivated like this, any limited deeds they have done don't remain and persist there. Suppose there was a powerful hornblower, they would easily make themselves heard in the four quarters. In the same way, when the heart's release by equanimity has been developed and cultivated like this, any limitless deeds they have done don't remain and persist there. This too is the path to company with divinity, with Brahma. So equanimity is the idea of the evenness of the mind. Equanimity means the ability to just observe without being enmeshed kind of in the qualities or enmeshed in what you're seeing, but seeing things neutrally. That's the idea of equanimity. And the reason why equanimity comes last here is because it is the highest of these qualities. Equanimity, surprisingly, is higher than love, higher than compassion, higher than rejoicing. And the reason for that is because as long as you have all these qualities that gives rise to very powerful states of happiness, which is what metta does, gives rise to incredible joy and happiness, there is a tendency to be attracted to that happiness and joy. But when you come to equanimity, you go beyond the joy and happiness, and then you can observe in a completely neutral way. So you have this very powerful mind that has gone beyond all happiness, and all you do is observe the world as it actually is. It is that ability to observe which comes out of equanimity. And the way that traditionally this is said to develop this is the understanding that all beings are the owners of the karma. Because when you understand that all beings are owner of the karma, it's like you are seeing the mechanics of how the universe operates. You see that these beings are doing bad things and so they have bad results. These are doing good things, they have good results. And you see how people are just these conditioned phenomena, these blobs of conditioned phenomena, doing their things in the world and reaping the results as a consequence of that. And you are standing back, observing it without really reacting one way or the other, just understanding what the world is like. This is a bit like the Buddha, observing the world. This is a kind of very powerful way. And of course, when you have that ability to just observe like that, that is where also the highest insights tend to arise, because your ability to observe has reached its highest pinnacle. That's why the fourth jhana is said to be the highest point, or the fourth Brahma Vihara, or the kind of the optimal place from which to gain insight and to gain awakening itself. That is kind of what this is really about. However, having said that, the focus for most people, I would recommend, should be on metta. The developing of the metta is by far the most useful one. Firstly, because equanimity is just too difficult at the very high stage. It takes incredible development of the mind. Ideally, you have very good samadhi already. You have a very peaceful and calm mind. And then eventually you take it all the way to upekkha. But it's a very long way of development to get there. And to help you get there, start with metta. The 3 first of the Brahma Viharas, remember, they should always develop in sequence. Everything in the Dhamma is sequential, and when the Buddha always mentions metta first, there is a reason for that. It's because it is the most powerful, it is the most basic of the qualities. Then comes compassion. Compassion is more tricky because you're focusing on the suffering of people, and you get it wrong. You can become like tired or lose your energy if you don't get it right. Yes, that is actually more difficult, and the most difficult of all is ultimately the upekkha. So start with the metta. Start with the goodwill, start with the friendliness, start with the love. That is the basic one. And it is very, very useful because as you develop that, you overcome many of these very negative qualities that are so tricky on the path. Yeah, like the fault-finding mind, the judgmental mind who always brings people down, the mind that wants to talk negatively about other people. All of that is kind of eliminated. And so by developing the metta, it's as if all the pieces, all the jigsaw pieces of the Noble Eightfold Path, they kind of come together through that. You become a very wholesome person through that development of metta. So for that reason, it kind of brings the factors together, and you are basically ready for real samadhi if you get your metta meditation together, because all the aspects of sila are contained within that metta, within that loving kindness, within that goodwill. So please focus on that one first of all, and then as that one works out, you can also do a little bit of the other Brahma Viharas, especially compassion. The compassion also has an important place in the Dhamma, and then as these things come together, then it becomes very powerful. Sometimes it is not so easy to distinguish between love and compassion, between goodwill and compassion. Often they are very related to each other, because we know the nature of other people. We can see their suffering. We can also see their good qualities. And so they are enmeshed with each other. But the focus on the metta is still ideal, because the karuna kind of comes anyway as part of that contemplation or development. So that is a little bit about the meditation on the Brahma Viharas and how important they are, and how they, in a sense, are also here. You can see how they are the path, what actually the Brahmins at that time, what they really wanted to do. Yeah, they wanted to do this kind of meditations. And in many ways, if you look at the various kind of religions in the world, the various kind of spiritual paths, this is often exactly what you find. You find people doing these kind of practices, yeah, which then become the pathway to unity with God. Yeah, this is basically unity with God. Unity with Brahma is basically the same thing here. Yeah, it's kind of the same kind of idea. It's not just a God, it's a very high God. God comes in many different levels. This is a very high level God, if you wish. Okay. So now we come to the conclusion of this sutta. When he had spoken thus, Subba said to him, "Excellent, worthy Gautama, excellent," as if he were writing the overturned or revealing the hidden, or pointing the path to the lost, or lighting a lamp in darkness. In the dark, so people with clear eyes can see what is there, where the Gautama has made the teaching clear in many ways. I go for refuge to the worthy Gautama, to the teaching, and to the mendicant Sangha. From this day forth, may the worthy Gautama remember me as a lay follower who has gone for refuge for life. Well now, worthy Gautama, I must go. I have many duties and much to do. This is the classic kind of ending with these things. Yeah? So you can see now he has completely turned around. He's basically becoming a disciple of the Buddha. He started out very skeptical, but now he goes for refuge. And he not only does he go for refuge, but in those days they would go for refuge for life. There was no messing around. It was just they really go for it when they do it. And so that's kind of a nice little thing to keep in mind there. And you have a series of similes here. So this is a standard set of similes that you find in the suttas whenever someone kind of gains an insight into the Dhamma, or they gain faith into the Dhamma. It's the idea of righting the overturned. Yeah, it's as if the world, you used to see the world in one way, and now the world has been turned the right way up. Everything was the upside down before. You didn't really understand what is going on, and now it has been righted. You're seeing things in the right way. And this is kind of the power of the Dhamma. This is kind of, in this case, this is only partially true, but when it comes to the real insight into the Dhamma, it is fully true. Yeah, the things that you took to be permanent turn out to be impermanent. The things that you took to be a self turn out to be non-self. The things that you took to be happiness turn out to be suffering. Yeah, this is kind of the extraordinary thing. Everything is turned upside down. The things that you thought were beautiful turn out not to be beautiful. And so this is kind of the idea of the Dhamma, and where the Buddha says that what the ordinary people think of as happiness, the Aryas think of as suffering. And what the ordinary people think of as suffering, the noble ones think of as happiness. And this is the idea that the world gets turned around. So especially when it comes to stream entry and the profound insight into the nature of reality, it is quite literally a turning upside down of certain views about the nature of reality. So you are righting the overturned. We have kind of been deluded. Everything has been overturned. Everything has been upside down. And one day, finally, you see things the right way up. And that is kind of the idea here. You are revealing the hidden. So these are various similes to show you a variety of ways in which reality gets revealed to you. It's like a veil that covers reality. You have some sense that there is something going on behind the veil. You have a feeling that you are deluded and confused. That's why we are all here. We're all here to learn the Dhamma, because we have a sense that there is something more in the world that we would like to have access to. And then one day the veil gets drawn back from the world, and you can see the world as it actually is, instead of seeing this blur, instead of being deluded, instead of not really having an idea what is going on. The hidden gets revealed, and that is kind of the idea here of the Dhamma. Or pointing out the path to the lost. You have been wandering around in your life, roaming around here and there, roaming the streets of the world, and not really knowing where you are going, running through the forests of the world, kind of not having no idea. There's this beautiful translation that I always like to point out by Bhikkhu Bodhi about how we have all been roaming around samsara. What does it mean to roam around? It means that you have no goal, you have no purpose. It's a random motion through the world, going up, going down. You are roaming. There's no sense of direction. And one day someone says, you are roaming around. What's the point of that? Stop roaming. Take this path. This path will actually lead you in a certain direction. And that is the idea of the teachings of the Buddha. Instead of roaming around, now you get on the highway to real happiness. You're actually going in a certain direction. Pointing out the path to the lost. Lost means roaming around. Not lost means moving in a certain direction towards a certain goal. The goal that gives real meaning to life. The goal that gives real happiness. The goal that gives real peace. And the goal that gives real freedom, which what this is all about. And then the last one is lighting a lamp in the dark. Yeah, as long as we are lost, it's like as if we are in darkness. We don't really see. We don't know if we're going to hit our head or not. We don't know if we're going to stumble on a root in the ground because we can't see those roots. We can't see the beams that we're going to hit our heads on. This is like all the stupid actions that we do that give rise to bad results in the future. Why? Because we cannot see. One of the great metaphors for awakening in the suttas is the turning on of the light. Yeah, light goes on, darkness is dispelled. That is the way the Buddha talks about the awakening experience. Before you were in darkness, you didn't know what was going on. Then the light goes on. Wow, this is how it works. This is how the connection is between how I live and the results in the future. Suddenly understand the idea of rebirth, of karma, of awakening itself. Someone turns on the light. You are the one who turns on your own light by following the instructions of the Dhamma. So all of these similes are very beautiful and they're worth thinking about because it gives you a sense, of where you are and where you're hoping to go. Something is hidden from you, something is overturned. You are on the lost kind of path, at least to some extent. Hopefully now you are a little bit on the right path, because you are here, so kind of moving in the right direction. You're still a little bit in the darkness, but hopefully the light is gradually being turned up, so it becomes brighter and brighter as you move forward in this practice. So you are lighting a lamp in the dark so that people with clear eyes can see what is there. You have to have clear eyes, You have to have some kind of clarity, so when someone teaches the Dhamma, you will get it. If you haven't got those clear eyes, well, then there is a problem. And so that is what he says. And then he says again, where the Gautama has made a teaching clear in many, many ways. He then goes for refuge to the Buddha Dhamma and the Sangha. And he does that for life. And then straight away he says, okay, I better go now. I've got many duties and much to do. This is typical, isn't it? That's kind of what people are like. It kind of makes you wonder, how much did he actually understand? That's kind of, it makes you wonder. Never mind. There's all degrees of understanding. So then the Buddha replies. He says, please, student, go at your convenience. And then Suba approved and agreed with what the Buddha said. He got up from his seat, bowed and respectfully circled the Buddha, keeping him on his right before leaving. Now at that time, the Brahmin Janusoni drove out from Savatthi in the middle of the day in an all-white chariot drawn by mares. He saw the student Suba coming off in the distance and said to him, so worthy Bharadvaja, where are you coming from in the middle of the day? So usually people wouldn't move around in the middle of the day. That was kind of the wrong time to move around. So if someone did that, there would be something special going on. Bharadvaja is the clan name of Suba. Suba would be like his personal name. Bharadvaja would be the clan that he came from. So they would address each other with the clan names. And Janusoni, he is a famous Brahmin at the court of King Pasenadi, and he would always drive around in this all-white chariots drawn by mares, and he was obviously a very kind of highfalutin Brahmin, an important person at that time. And then Suba says, well, just now, good fellow, I come from the presence of the ascetic Gautama. What do you think of the ascetic Gautama's lucidity of wisdom? Do you think he is astute? My good man, who am I to judge the ascetic Gautama's lucidity of wisdom? You'd really have to be the same level to judge his lucidity of wisdom. Worthy Bharadvaja praises the ascetic Gautama with lofty praise indeed. Who am I to praise the ascetic Gautama? He is praised by the praised as the best among gods and humans. The 5 things that the Brahmins prescribe for making merit and succeeded in the skillful, he says, are requisites of the mind for developing a mind free of enmity and ill will. When he had spoken, Janusoni got down from his chariot, arranged his robe over one shoulder, raised his joined palms in Anjali towards the Buddha, and expressed this heartfelt sentiment 3 times. King Pasenadi of Kosala is lucky, so very lucky, that the realized one, the perfected one, the fully awakened Buddha is living in his realm. So, that is the end of that sutta. So he is lucky to have the Buddha in his realm, and we are lucky to have the teachings of the Buddha. We are lucky to have this amazing retreat center where we can practice these teachings to the best of our ability. So please keep on enjoying yourself, and we'll see you again this evening at 7 o'clock.